stash. Quilts are flying, colors splash. Pins and patches, stories grow. Stitching secrets we all know. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time. A spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Sewing tales with every square. Buttons falling everywhere. A crooked seam, but who will care? Iron presses line so neat. Friendship's quilt can't be beat. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time. A spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Sewing tales with every square. Buttons falling everywhere. A crooked seam, but who will care? Iron presses line so neat. Friendship's quilt can't be beat. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time. A spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Our Stitch by stitch they weave the tale. A patchwork life where laughs prevail. Patterns clash, but who can tell? Quilted chaos suits us well. Stephen and Walter live on air. Threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings. Life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound. Sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around. It's a show where joy is bound. Stephen and Walter live on air. Threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings. Life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound. Sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around. It's a show where joy is bound. Stephen and Walter live on air. Threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings. Life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound. Sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around. It's a show where joy is bound. Pins and needles, jokes abound. Sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around.
just about forgot to turn off the mute again. Your job.
Yeah, well, I wasn't that quick. I'm not
Uh-huh.
that quick this afternoon.
No. Rough day yesterday?
No, not really.
Sewed your little brains out?
A little bit. No,
Oh.
not really. I guess I did. I got something done anyway.
Well, anyways, we are here and welcome everybody. And thank you for joining us today. And I'm going to tell you right off the top, today is going to be political. Okay? And if that's not your cup of tea, then you don't have to listen to us. You can go away, do whatever you want. But we're going to answer the question that we started with in the comments, which is Trump bankrupting the world? And we're going to look at it from a little bit more of a personal point of view, like how it's affecting us. And when I say us, I mean Walter and I, and other Canadians, and you, the viewers. But before we get into all of that, let's see who's joining us today. And we've got people coming in, so we'll say hello to everybody. Barb is here. She was number one. She says, happy Sunday, everyone. And right on her heels was Nina. Greetings from Charlotte, North Carolina. Inez is here from The Rock, Newfoundland. And Dubrovka from way up north in frozen. Is it still frozen up there, Dubrovka? Timmins? Dubrovka and her husband Al, of course. He's always there as well. And Gloria is here. And Charlotte.
She's got snowmen there, so
it's probably snowing. Yep. Charlotte is here. I said that. Andy's here. Hi, Andy. And Suzanne. Mona is here as well. And Karen Lyles. She says, hi, everyone, from rainy Portland, Vancouver. It is rainy here, too, today.
Actually, it should be raining in Timmins as well.
Oh, yeah?
But it's not. It says it's cloudy at 6.
Oh.
So.
Okay. Walter the weatherman.
I could check our subscribers where they are and what they're doing.
I've been checking every day with the weather in Tokyo.
Oh, I haven't really looked.
It's been pretty much the same as us. Within a couple of degrees, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Lately.
If we ever get there.
If we ever, yeah, we'll come to that in a bit. Karen Lyles is here. I already said that. Judy is here. Karen B is here. Carol is here. Sue Norfleet is here. And Arta is here too from San Diego. And where is it? Lily and Francis is here as well. Red Sky EBC from Michigan, USA. Not sure who that is, but welcome. Red Sky, are you new? Is this your first time? I haven't seen Red Sky come up before. Lele is here as well from Virginia. Chris is here. Janine is here. Hi, Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie. Ruth Roberts is here. Hi, Ruth. Ruth, I hope you've been getting my emails that I've been sending, because you're kind of important to me and will be important to all of us as a presenter. So,
Ruth says here, Viktor Orban lost the election in Hungary, which he was far right.
Oh, yeah, despite Trump's endorsement, though. Ah, good. See, that works into what we're going to talk about today. That's a positive thing, I would say. Grant is here from Southern California. It's raining there as well. Debbie's here. She caught alive. Yay, Debbie. And Dubrovka says it's not cold, raining, but 6 feet of snow left on the ground. Ooh. Well, get out your swimsuit.
Our snow's gone.
Yeah, our snow's completely gone. Heather is here from sunny Nova Scotia. Well, at least some part of Canada is getting some sun. Jen is here as well. And Inez says it's snowing in Newfoundland. And
it was nice and sunny yesterday.
What, in Newfoundland?
No, here.
Oh, here. Well, fine. Well, I said Newfoundland and you just jumped and I'm supposed to fill in the gap.
No.
Yeah. People do this all the time. I think I'm seeing a trend. And I think the trend is because we all communicate through computers now. And people, I think, assume that they're having a conversation with one person, but they're not. And so they leave it out. So you're not sure what they're talking about. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Lisa says, hi, everyone, from sunny New Brunswick, Canada. Okay, so at least the East Coast is getting some sun. Pam from Minnesota is here as well. Oh, Barb Scott, that who is Red Sky. Not sure
Okay.
why YouTube changed my name when I comment. I've been a subscriber for at least a year. Yeah, because I know Barb Scott. So yeah, that is something that YouTube has done now. They take whatever you registered on originally as something, and that's what they show now. I don't know what it
Yeah,
is
I know.
either.
So we don't really we see this profile unless we can apply a name to it.
Yeah. I try to remember what the name is,
Yeah.
but I don't always get it right. Kelly is here. Jen says, still lovely weather, mid to high 20s here in Perth. To be in Perth, Australia. That's where she's talking about. We have a Perth in Canada.
Well, you never get that cold. And
No, you don't mind. Am is here. He says, I've been waiting since yesterday because I thought it was Monday morning already. Oh, yeah, time zones. They're a bitch. For sure. Amelia is here as well. Hello, Amelia. So we got people coming in from all over the world, and that's always good. Colleen is here as well from PEI. Breeze is brisk here in PEI, but it's sunny there. So we all should be in the east coast of Canada right now because they're getting all the sunshine down there. Okay, so let's jump into what we've been working on, and I'll show you what I've been. Now, I've already shown these. Yes, I know it is a repeat, but
same old, same old.
oh, screw you. Yeah, you're so much fun. But I know there's some people haven't seen the other ones during the week. I don't know why, but life gets in the way. So very quickly. So this is the In the Hoop project, the Jacobean floral table runner, they call it. And it's all done. And it's upstairs on our dining room table right now for a while. That's where
It's too bad I took the balloons down. They would have matched.
He means the balloon curtains that the 90s wanted back. Yeah.
It had a similar pattern on them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they did. That's true. Well, weren't those colors though?
No, not really.
In that, because pink. I mean, I don't.
They were more a fuchsia color.
Yeah. Well, whatever. So, I don't know why you brought that up. Okay.
Because it reminded me of it. Okay, go ahead.
Fine. These are in the continuing story about the Alaska quilt, or Quilt from Hell. Yesterday we were at a sew day, and this is what I managed to get done. I'm not happy with how these are turning out because I know I'm going to lose points. When I'm meaning like the points of my diamonds when I start sewing it into the quilt. I am doing what they tell you to do and the whole bit. You'll notice that there's a little bit of some jaggies along the edges. Those are on purpose because I'm going to have to, when I start putting these into the quilt, I'm going to have to try my best to do a little bit of fudging so I can get most of my points. Now, one of my subscribers, our subscribers, sent me a link to a video she found on YouTube where they are using the ruler, the Alaska quilt ruler, and they're not making the Alaskan quilt, they're doing another thing, but this very similar pattern. And I took a look at it, and what they were showing is what I was doing. But I'll just have to play around. I have some ideas in my head. But I may just have to accept the fact that I'm going to lose points on this quilt, which I don't like doing. But anyways, I'm going to talk more in detail about that particular video and what they're doing and what I'm trying to do as well when I do the next set of blocks. But yeah, it's a little discouraging. It's discouraging because I'm not sure how to correct the problem. But we live on. Somebody even suggested using a thinner thread, which is a possibility. I don't know if I have a thinner thread, like a 60. They were using. I usually use 50.
I have some 100 you can use if you want.
What, you've got 100?
Yeah, well, if you want white or something. I think I've got one.
Maybe I should give that a try. because this is getting discouraging. Anyways, we move on. We'll talk more about it on Tuesday on the Idiot Quilter. I'm just giving you a sort of a sneak peek. And of course, I did manage to get the first character in the second star to the right, Art East's Peter Pan quilt, done. Couple little minor things in this that they don't really bother me, but they do. And I'm going to point those out to you on Tuesday as well and discuss it a little bit. It's not a criticism of the pattern. It's not a criticism of me either. So I don't know. But anyways, I like it. It's coming along, and it's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, and it'll be quite an accomplishment, a feeling of accomplishment when I get it all done. I'm pretty sure of that because there are so many little pieces. But anyways, it's a cool quilt. And I think that's all the pictures there I have. So let's take a look at, just before Walter shows what he's going to show. I just want to see if anybody's made any comments here. Sunny. Oh, Lele says she loves my rainbow cat shirt, which is one of Walter's creations. And that's a good segue into his next creation, which he worked on yesterday.
Yeah, well, I have another shirt upstairs that I didn't bring down that I've shown before that I was working on, and I almost have it done. I just have to put buttons on it. So I didn't bring it down. But I'm working on this shirt. I started this one yesterday at the Sew Day, and it's one for Steven. It's got steampunk stuff on it.
I love steampunk.
And I already put the pocket on the front, so...
And you can't see it because it's invisible.
Yeah. Where is it?
I can't find it. Well, you did a good job.
There it is.
Yeah.
So there's the...
But if you see
where the pocket is.
See the fabric that's here. It's all like air balloon type things, you know, very steampunky. Yeah. And I went through a phase where I was big into steampunk when I was doing paper crafting that, and I still like steampunk.
Okay, where did I put the pocket?
I don't know. It's invisible.
Oh, it's there. It's there.
There. Okay. Well, you did a good job of matching that up. Let's see. Ooh. My goodness. You can't see that pocket.
Yeah, it's there.
Wow. You are good. That's your signature.
Yeah. One of these days I want to try and match the fronts up. I've never done that. But the way I do it, it's going to be really hard to do it, to match them up. And you really have to waste a lot of fabric to do that.
What for?
You know, so that it's the pattern goes evenly all the way across the front.
Right.
But I haven't done that yet.
Well,
but it's really wasteful of your fabric if you do that. Actually, that's an old picture now.
What, this one?
Yeah.
Do you have new stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see the new stuff.
Yeah, I did some last night.
Oh, I didn't think you did any last night. Anyways, what we're talking about is this other thing that he's working on, and we did show this. I didn't realize that he had some new stuff, so just very quickly. Walter's Free Motion Quilting, which we talked about on So Chatty, and he was doing this with rulers, actually combination of rulers and free motion.
Yeah, I'm sort of, the ruler thing is not really grabbing me as much. No. I may use it in conjunction for small lines or that, but doing intense ruler stuff on there is very time consuming. And you have to, you know, plan to get things in the right spot.
Yeah, we talked about like that because of the 1/4 inch and that.
Yeah, so I think I'd like to focus more on getting really good at free motion stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, splitting your attention's maybe not a good idea. It's better to concentrate on one.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't realize you had new stuff that you did last night.
I did some more. Actually, the other stuff I did last night wasn't absolutely great, but there was one piece that was a little better. So, well,
we'll keep everybody in suspenders with that until Tuesday. I'll show it on Tuesday. We'll talk about it on So Chatty. Well, there'll be more probably because you'll probably do more this week.
Yeah.
There'll be more to show on So Chatty of Walter's progress here too. Soon it'll be time for you to graduate to doing an actual quilt. So we'll see how that all works. But it looks nice. I'm jealous, but I'm not that jealous that I want to go in and try my own.
I'm getting more of the hang of the motion and stuff like that. So
yeah, well, that's what they say. It happens. Let's see here.
Oh, by the way, I
What?
used one of those new bobbins.
And
It works fine.
works fine. Oh, okay. You bought what? Where they came from?
They came from Monfill,
Monfill.
but they're Filtech, which is
Well,
Glide,
yeah, that's
and they're
Glide.
Magna Glide. So
Oh, okay. Well, that's just Glide. Well,
it's just that they only have two colors. They only have black and white, and I bought a box of white.
oh, okay. Well, for practice, it's okay. Um, Karen says global connections are a good thing. Yeah. Debbie says I love that table runner. It's gorgeous. Thank you, Debbie. Andy loves it too. And Laura Lee is here. And she says, hi guys, I finally caught a live during the live. Love your videos. Well, thank you, Lori Lee. I guess it's Lori Lee. I said Laura Lee, but it's Laura Lee. Lori Lee. And Michelle says, hello from Wake Forest, North Carolina. No, I didn't vote for him. Okay, Michelle, then you can stay. Inez loves it. Lori Lee says that it's cool. Charlotte loves the fabric. I'm assuming she means for the shirt. And Lisa says steampunk for the win. Debbie loves your shirt, Walter, and all the shirts are wonderful. Yes, we have a really nice, I have a lovely wardrobe of shirts.
Though we have had a couple that you have
worn out.
worn through.
They've worn through.
And they haven't they didn't. I thought at first they would have split at the seams, but they actually the fabric wore through.
Yeah, so whatever. Mind you, I wear them a lot.
You wear them all the time,
but I do rotate them.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I should stop wearing one shirt for 2 weeks. Maybe I should wash it occasionally. No. And there'll be people there that believe that, just because we're men, they think. Francis says, Walter, you are so talented. Oh, now you get a big head. Debbie says, you've gotten so good at FMQ. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting more of the hang of it. I'm still a little eerie about doing an actual quilt, but I mean, we got to practice one here.
We got to practice one.
And I just figure it's going to be a practice one, so.
Yeah, well, and I can make more practice ones. Good way to use up scraps on that. Now, Rachel says, steampunk is cool. Come to Whitby in the UK. Whitby is, I grew up in Whitby, but Whitby here, which is the town next door to us. And it is named after the Whitby in England. Yeah. Steampunk Weekend. Yeah, we have seen that. There is a guy that's on YouTube that I used to watch all the time when I was a paper crafter. Still on there. Mike Deacon is his name. And he and his husband are big into steampunk. And especially his husband. His husband makes a lot of these machines, I guess you would call them.
Steampunky little machines.
Yeah, they're really quite cool. And he has a booth at and there seems to be a lot of steampunk shows in the UK.
Yeah, it seems to be a big thing there.
Yeah, and because these people get all dressed up for it, and they've got very elaborate looking costumes. It would be really interesting to go to one of those sometime. But he puts it up on his video when it happens, and yeah.
I usually make the shirts out of quilting cotton, and the reason I do is because they have so many different patterns in it and stuff, and they do seem to wash well. So
yeah, they do. It's just that I got these two that have a little hole in them.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that's just wear and tear. That's all.
Yeah, probably. Jen says Steven's new Japan shirt is coming along nicely, Walter. Well done. And Andy says, Walter, how many shirts have you made for me?
Well, in total, I've made about 30 for not just for him, but for me and him. So
I have the bulk of them, and I'd say
I made more for him than for me because I don't wear mine as much as he does. I'll wear it when I go out, but during the day, I usually just like wearing a t-shirt. So
yeah, it looks like a bum.
Yeah, I look like a bum.
I don't wear t-shirts. Don't like t-shirts. Won't wear them. Don't buy them. No, I like a collared shirt. And so I probably have 20.
Yeah, probably.
I should count them.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we haven't bought any shirts. I've just made them. So,
And you know, the other day I was over at the shopping center, and I didn't go in, but I went by a men's clothing store and just looked in the window to see what they had, and nah, the shirts I saw there are just boring, um, and cost a lot of money too.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I buy the fabric and put all my time into making a shirt, I mean, these would cost a lot of money
Well, yeah,
too. So, but they're kind of unique, and I can make whatever I want.
yeah.
So,
Well, it's what I tell people oftentimes someone will come and say, I love your shirt. Where'd you get it? And I go, he makes them. Oh, do you sell them? And I say, he shakes his head like that. And I go, you can't afford them. And they look at me kind of funny. I said, these shirts are expensive. Yeah. And I just leave it at that. Let's see. Linda says, just met you guys the other night on Ian and Becca's podcast. I live in the coastal Alabama. It's 80 degrees here today. I didn't vote for him either. Okay, Linda, you can stay. Well, yeah, that was a fun time we had with Becca and Ian. I don't know, maybe I should see if I could get them to come on our show one time and turn play. I mean, I had them for a retreat, but that was a little different than, you know, where it's a little less formal, a little more casual. That might be fun. That's a thought for the future.
yeah. When you wear your shirts out, you can make quilts out of them. I don't know. I think the fabric gets a little faded.
Yeah,
sometimes.
it does. But I have made a quilt out of the scrap fabrics from a bunch of shirts a couple of years ago that Walter made. And I took a picture of it and I showed it on here, but that's back probably 2 years ago or so, maybe longer. But I still have a big bag of scraps that Walter gave all of them for all the shirts. And I want to do another one. But I got to get through the quilt from hell first and other projects. There's always a project to do, don't you know? Sherry's here. It's rain today and cool too, so they're having it as well around. So seems like most places are rainy, just the lucky few that are getting sun today. Okay, so that's what we've been up to. And as I said, we went to a sew day, Walter's group. I call it now the sew day at the club. And there's not many of us. Actually, it was 4 guys and one woman.
It's usually 4 guys and 1 woman.
Yeah,
except this one was a different woman.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually 2 women that tend to come, but one comes more often than the other one. So the one that normally comes couldn't make it yesterday, and the one that comes on occasion showed up yesterday.
Yeah, and the one that was there yesterday, she does garments and she quilts as well. She was working on some placemats. She was binding them, and she was talking about how she always had problems getting her corners, mitered the corners when she's doing binding and that. So I was kind of helping her out. I gave her, I don't know how much of it, I didn't really have anything I could show it to, so I kind of described it. And, you know, when you describe something like that, it's not the same as actually doing a hands-on show for it. But I hope some of the suggestions I gave to her, they weren't criticisms. What she was doing looked fine. But she said that she was having trouble. She always had trouble getting the mitered corner. And I know how she feels, because when I first got into quilting in the whole bit, and for a long time, I had trouble with the mitered corners too. But I have a system now, and it works for me every time. And so that's what I was trying to explain to her. I have made a video of it though, because I've had several people ask me to show how I bind a quilt. I haven't released it yet because I was waiting for an appropriate time. I've got some other videos ahead of that, but I will release that soon, and you'll see what my process is. And it's not that radically different from anybody else's. It's just I found a couple of tricks that help me make really nice mitered corners, and because I use invisible thread, it doesn't matter if you go off a little bit. No one's going to see it. So, because it's invisible. So that's that'll come up at some point in time. Did we talk about anything interesting at the sew day? Anything that we can share?
No, I
No,
don't
we
know.
talk about some things, but they can't share those. No.
Not really.
No.
I mean, just we have general chat all the time. Catch up on what other people are doing and
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I mean, one of the guys, the guy that taught me how to sew is there, and he or taught me how to sew garments is there. Put it that way. And he gets more elaborate when he does stuff, and he's in the process of making a suit for his daughter's wedding. So,
and we've seen his suits and his jackets before that he makes. They are extremely professional.
yeah, he is very picky sewer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's ripped out like he's made a suit before, and suits are actually very difficult to make. They have a lot of strange interfacing, especially around the sleeves and stuff like that, and jute and all this other stuff that he does. He puts in there. He does it all very professionally, and he actually is going next week. He was going to have the sew day next week, but he is going to a class in another city, and there's a guy there that is a very well-known Canadian sewer, and he helps him out with putting this suit
He's
together.
had some of his patterns published in by Vogue Patterns.
Yeah,
and stuff
his
like that.
name's Ron Collins. So
Yeah. You may not, unless you're a garment sewer, and I don't know, even if you are a garment sewer, you probably wouldn't be that familiar with him because he's not a huge name.
No, he's a Canadian name,
Yeah.
but he was popular quite a few years ago now, and but he goes around and does classes for people to teach them how to different kinds of sewing techniques. And Brendan, the guy that taught me how to do shirts and stuff, he has had a number of classes with Ron, and Ron is always very likes to help out, help people sew and stuff like that. So if you take one of his classes, he'll help people out on their projects.
Yeah. Lily says, Stephen, I know you're not enjoying making that quilt, but it's looking really good. Well, thank you, Lily. Yeah, it's not so much I'm not enjoying it, it's that I'm a little frustrated.
Isn't every quilt you do the quilt from?
Because I am a perfectionist. And I can't say these instructions are not the worst instructions in the world, but why do pattern designers do this? They give you a whole lot of instructions in about 4 lines of text, and it all runs together. And, you know, you got to sit there and really almost have to rewrite it, or I do. I like it point by point, one little piece at a time, because I get confused very easily. So maybe that's just me. I don't know. Dubrovka's got a question. Walter, can anybody go to your sewing day?
Yeah, pretty much.
But you have to live here.
Yeah.
Because it's not a virtual, it's an actual physical
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, they do have some limits as to how many people they can take, type of thing. But
well, he's never filled it.
No.
So
I mean, it's generally for the club's what do you call it? The members. There's members to the club, but technically we're not members. But we know him, so he said, sure.
Yeah, we were members once, many years ago.
But... So, yeah, so, I mean, other people are welcome to come. I mean, he would put a limit on it if there's a whole pile of people that show up. But right now, there isn't a whole pile of people. It's just the regulars that usually come, and 1 or 2 other people sort of
straggle in. Yeah. Ruth says, tailoring is an art of its own, very technical and labor intensive. Yeah, it definitely is that. You can tell with the detail that he makes what do you call them, a muslin?
A muslin. He'll do a practice suit. Right now he's doing a practice suit. And it actually is material that looks like a suit. So he may actually hang on to that once he's done. So
yeah. So he could make another one. Because he already had the muslin. Karen says I think she means Ron, used to work with Sandra Bedzina.
Yeah, that could very well be.
Big in the sewing world.
I remember
he was on video.
He did talk about a Sandra before, and he does have some videos on YouTube, but they're ancient.
Yeah.
And
they came from a show that he was on with this other lady, and that was probably the lady he was with. Diana says, hello from damp Plymouth, UK, Diane and Neil. Tambling. Hope I said that right. Well, welcome. Rachel says, I wish we had something like Sew Group where I live. Only one is about an hour away. I went to one of their open days, and boy, were they, let's say, unwelcoming. Well, you know, that is a danger.
Yeah.
You know, even with online sew groups too that I have found, it's like they're very cliquey, or can be. Not all of them. Like my philosophy for having the pop-up sew days and the sew days on Wednesdays, anybody is welcome to come to them. And we do not, we're a supportive group. We love new people to join us in. We have a good time. We may be talking about anything but sewing, but we will eventually get around to it. And everybody's very helpful, you know, and admire everybody else's work. There's no judgment or drama, usually, on that kind of thing. I don't understand these other ones where people get, you know.
Yeah, like I can see that some of those other sew days might have people that, because they know each other, become very cliquey.
Yeah.
I'm on the group. I mean, we're pretty much regulars that come to this sew day, at this club, and occasionally somebody comes in that's that hasn't been before, and they may come 1 or 2 or 3 times, and then they seem to disappear again. But I mean, I'm sure they're happy when we've helped lots of people out. There was a lady that came one day and she couldn't get her serger working, and I spent about half an hour with her to try and figure out how to fix her serger, and we did get it fixed. Well, actually, there wasn't anything wrong with it. It was the way it was threaded. So, but once we got that figured out, she was good to go. So,
well, and they get gifts if I'm there.
Yeah.
Because I always make everybody something each month. I don't know why. I just like to make things on the 3D printer and give them to them. This month it was bobbin boxes, 2 different styles.
Okay, Dubrovka, I don't know if a busload would work.
Those old people's your sew day from Timmins. Hey, charge money for that.
Yeah.
All the way from Timmins to that. Wouldn't Brendan just drop a load in his pants?
Yeah.
For that one. Let's see. Debbie says that she needs a good picture patterns. Yeah, I like pictures. Pictures help a great deal. But you know, like, that's why I go to YouTube, because it's visual media. But there last week or something, I was looking for how to do Y seams. And I have done Y seams before, but for the life of me, I could not do a Y seam this time. And I stay away from them. But I went, and there's tons of videos on YouTube. Do you think I could find a decent one? They either, their hands were in the way, or they went through it so fast. You do this, that, bang, we got a Y seam. No, even if I slow you down, and I find it very unnerving. I know if you make a video and you're showing that's there, you have to remember, and I've been guilty of this too, so I know it's easy to forget. Don't get your hands in the way of the camera. It is kind of awkward to film and to show what you're sewing on a machine at the same time, because trying to manipulate that equipment to get in there where people can see, unless you're going to permanently hang it from the ceiling of your work area and be able to drop it down. I haven't done that yet. Don't know if I ever will. But it is very, very difficult, so I get that. But yeah, I like to be able to see what you're telling me to do. Jen's here. Hi, Jen. Rachel says, I can deal with drama, just not rudeness. Think it was a clique, then they clearly didn't want a young interloper joining. Yours sounds much more fun. Yeah, I had that experience with a guild.
And we've had experiences like that at retreats, like in-person retreats. And we tended to be the only men at the retreat.
Yeah.
We were the only men at the retreat. And you get odd reception from
Yeah.
that. Like I had one woman I was doing shirts, and I had one woman hanging over top of me like all the time. And she's, what are you doing now? What are you doing? You know, like, I mean, why? And she started questioning me as to why I was sewing shirts.
Well, she was looking for you to make a mistake because she obviously considered herself an expert,
Yeah.
even though it was a quilting thing, but an expert on. She was just waiting so she could get in there and share her vast amount of knowledge with you. And you know the kind of person that's like that. We call them,
And
politely,
so,
we call them know-it-alls.
so I mean,
Not so politely, we call
since
them
Brendan
bitches.
started doing this thing. We've been going, and actually he had got a guy that he knows interested in it, and this guy, he has taught him how to sew shirts and some other clothing,
And he's been
stuff.
going like
And he's
gangbusters.
been going like crazy. I mean, he started off using his mother's machine, an old machine, and he went out and bought a new machine, and he's
been hooked.
he got hooked, and he's making all kinds of clothes for himself and stuff like that, and he likes it.
Yeah,
And
and he does a good job.
And what's nice is Brendan's there if he gets stuck or something, to give him some advice. And other people have come where, let's say this other lady that comes regularly, she sometimes needs some help fitting some of the clothes that she's making for herself. And there's people there that help her pin and stuff like that. So,
well, Heather says, I belong to a small quilt group of 12 sewers and there has been no drama at all. Yeah, it just depends on the combination of people. When I belonged to this guild, it was a large guild. There was over 100 members in it. Many of the people in the guild were very, very nice when I first joined, but there were enough in there that were downright nasty. That's why I'm not a member of it anymore. I just couldn't take that. So, and I've talked about that story several times over time period. But yeah, there's no need to be. These are like social groups kind of a thing. There are people who come to these not just for the sewing, but because, you know, they're maybe on their own for one reason or another. You know, an older person, their spouse may have passed on or whatever, and something like that. Their kids are all grown up. They're empty nesters, and you know, the older you get, the harder it is to really meet people. So it's a social outlet for them as well. So, you know, it really behooves those people who turn around and make a new person into the group feel that they're not wanted, that they're invading their space. Then,
like, I mean, when Brendan was doing the classes with us, he did Zoom classes, and they were all people that were local to the area, and most of them still live in the area. But there's only 2 or 3 of us that have actually gone to the sew days. The other ones just seem to be too busy all the time to come.
yeah,
so.
well, they got to babysit a grandkid at the last
Yeah,
minute
well,
or
that
something
happens
like that.
a lot. Like,
you know, because oh my God,
there's one lady that constantly is babysitting her grandkids. So,
because you know, her children that had the kids, they need a break. It's so hard. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I don't have children by choice.
but you know,
Right.
it's actually been kind of interesting because there's another one that has come off and on, and she's into doing costume sewing and stuff like that for theaters and stuff, and or you know, what do you call it, small theaters, like little theaters and stuff like that, not big huge production theaters, you know, like community theaters. And so she has like lots of resources and patterns and stuff. She's brought sometimes a bag of stuff with her, and people rummage through her stuff, like material and patterns and stuff like that.
Well, Barb says, oh, Kim's here. Hi, Kim. Barb says Laundry Basket Quilts, which is Edita Sitar, has a video on Y seams. I looked at her videos in conjunction with the Alaska quilt. It just confused me more because this is what she does. She gets telling you you should do this, but she has to and the fabric is so lovely, and you should see the fabric, and this will, oh, you'll look so nice, so you can do this, and she does this, and suddenly she switches over and she doesn't finish explaining what she was doing and how to do it. She's like, there's a squirrel in the room. She's, you know, like kind of a thing. And I find that extremely annoying. Now, I didn't see one specifically on doing Y seams, so maybe I'll look that up and see if I can find that. But yeah, I'm sorry. I know she's a star. I know that many people absolutely love everything she does, and she does design beautiful quilts. There's no two ways about it. And fabric as well. She's not a good teacher. And I'm saying that from a professional point of view. She is not a good teacher. She knows what she's doing. She's maybe a half decent designer. I say half decent because her instructions could be written more better, I think. Maybe other people don't think that, but I think that. So, yeah. And to be honest, I don't think I will ever attempt any of her patterns
clothing
again.
manufacturers are the same way. A lot of patterns that are making clothes have room for improvement as well.
Yeah, Ruth says, when I first started quilting, I joined 2 guilds. One was very low-key and held at a local fire station, and the other was full of quilt police and focused solely on modern quilting. Yeah, well, that can be disconcerting, too, on that. The quilt police, you know. Well, especially when you're a beginner. Yeah, you're going to make mistakes. Lots of them. That's how you learn. But these people who stand over you and, like, that's what happened in this guild I was in. I went to one of their retreats. And I was
You were the only man.
I was the only man. And I was doing something that had a lot of half square triangles. And it was really my first experience with half square triangles. I had done some maybe before. So I was using one method. And I thought at the time they were trying to be helpful. Oh, you can do them this way. Or you can do 8 at a time. Or you can do 3,000 at a time. And you can do this, and the other thing. Okay. Good to know. Right now, I'm a beginner. I am very happy with doing it the way I am. I'm trying to perfect that, and then I'll branch out. You know, I didn't want to be rude and say, like, screw off, mind your own business, you Betty. But it got very annoying because I couldn't get anything done because they hovered, like what Walter was saying. They hovered over me like they were bringing me. I think maybe they thought they were being helpful, but they were also being very condescending, and it was because I was a male. And I had invaded their space, basically. And, you know, because I was a male, I would know how to do these things. Well, okay. Well, what's the equivalent? If you don't believe me, if you don't understand that, how about if you were trying to change a tire on a car, and you had done it before, and a man came along and hovered over you, giving you all kinds of advice about your lug nuts and things like that. I guess that's what they're called. I don't know. I don't know how to change a tire. But, you know, that kind of thing. You know, mansplaining. Well, they were womansplaining.
Weren't they insistent on how you left the toilet seat?
Oh, well, that's another story for you. Yeah, all about that. And in fact, they didn't appreciate my humor. That was at a retreat. A different one. That was... I made a joke and said, because the bathroom, it was all women except me. And I made a joke saying, you know, okay, ladies, I've left the toilet seat down. If it's up, that's not on me. One of you's got a secret. Crickets. And then one came to me who was on the executive and says, oh, thank you for bringing that up, because she says, I wasn't sure how to approach you about that. What? I know the rule, okay? It's all right. I know women don't want, you know, because, you know, if they turned around and took a look when they sat down in the seat and to make sure the seat was down, they wouldn't get their bottom wet. But whatever. But apparently that joke went over like a lead balloon. But we won't get into that. There were so many things at that particular retreat that, yeah. I'm not talking about that one anymore. Barb says, the video I watched was only 2 minutes and 18 minutes long. Look under laundry basket quilts. Yeah, I'll take a look for that, Barb. Oh, Teresa's here. Hi, Teresa. She says, that's the teacher in you, Stephen. You know what not so great teachers like. A person can be brilliant but not be able to teach. Exactly. That's why there's such a thing as in teachers training. You just don't walk in and teach. You need to have some training. Marilyn says she watched Edida's Why Seam tutorials and could not understand them. I agree, she jumps around too much. Okay, well, I will check out this one that Barb is mentioning and see how that works out. The reason I wanted to do Y seams, it wasn't because I wanted to, but you know that I've been doing these videos on using the Accuquilt. So I picked a pattern from the 8-inch Qcube, or no, it was the 12-inch, which hasn't come out yet. That comes out next week. And I didn't realize that there was Y seam in it. So I got to that part, and they said in the booklet from Accuquilt, yeah, do your Y seam as instructed here. There was no instruction for it. So I thought I remembered how to do them, but no, I didn't. So I went to YouTube, and I watched probably 10 different videos, and I was just as confused by the time I got through those as I was when I started. So I gave it up. So you're not going to see that because I did a different pattern with it. I scrapped that one because I figured, well, there's no sense having you watch me struggle through a Y seam when I'm trying to show you how to use the Accuquilt. That would be not a good teaching thing at that point. Let's see what's here. Barb says the video she watched was right to the point. No pun intended. Okay, well, I'll check it out, Barb. Barb says, are you kidding me about that toilet seat? No, I am not. Lisa says, we're having a little fun here with points and pointlessness here. Everybody's punning on them. Lisa says, made the garden patch quilt by Edita. Was my first and last Edita quilt. Lovely lady, but her style of teaching was just not for me. I've been quilting for about 25 years now. Yeah, well, you know, I'm glad to hear that other people are, it's just not me saying this, that others have had a similar experience. So that tells you something. Pat's here. Hi, Pat. Gloria's here. She says, you should always look before you sit. You never know what might be there for you to sit on. Well, it reminds me of an old joke.
Even I do that.
Yeah, reminds me of an old joke. How did Helen Keller's parents punish her? They left the toilet brush in the toilet. You have to think about that one. Anyways, enough about toilet seats on that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the retreat because it's coming up on this coming Saturday. Right now, we have currently enrolled 81 people, so there are a few spots left. I did have the cutoff date for the registration to be tomorrow. I have extended it to Wednesday. So since I've got spaces there, if you're still interested, then it's there. I'm sure you'll get a spot. And other things. So for those of you that have already registered, the due date for if you want to, it's optional. If you want to be part of the show and share slideshow, send me one picture by, now I had put down by Tuesday, but if I get it by Wednesday, that'll work since, you know, I may have some people who might register on Wednesday. And all you need to do is send it to my email as an attachment, one picture, and don't be greedy. Okay, one picture. And you don't need to write a thing except your first and last name. That's all I need because there will be no. What was that?
I don't know.
Something just went. Did you leave the fridge open?
No.
Okay. Now I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh yeah, just your first and last name. That's all I need because it'll all be put in a slideshow with a background music on it, and they'll go by. So there won't be any time for somebody to read a narrative about it, and I'm not going to read it to you either. So we're just going to appreciate the beauty. Maybe the battery's going in the smoke detector.
That's possible.
Figures it would go now, wouldn't it? But anyways, so what else can I say? On about Wednesday next week, I will send out to you, those of you that are registered, you will get another email. Watch for it. It will have the agenda for the day, and most importantly, it will have the Zoom links for the retreat and for the cocktail party on Friday night, the Friday night before. So this Friday night coming up, starting at 7 o'clock, for those of you that are registered. It's just an informal little thing. Bring a drink, bring a snack or whatever. We'll play some games. We'll talk. We'll get to know each other. It's what it is. It's an icebreaker. So the links for all of that will be, it's driving you nuts, isn't it?
I'm
You
just
wanna-
going to go check the freezer.
Okay. We have an alarm on our freezer, and if the door's open, doesn't shut properly, it will let us know so we don't have everything. Well, whatever. It just throws me right off track. Okay, so yeah. So next Friday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, cocktail party, retreat. Following Saturday, doors open at 7:30. Official opening is actually at 9. You can come whenever you want to. I've had a few people concerned because they live in a time zone like out west. And that is very annoying.
Yeah,
beep, beep.
I think it's coming from over there, and I think it might be the fire alarm.
No, probably the battery. But wait, they don't have battery.
Yeah, they have
Oh,
battery
they have a backup. Anyways, yeah, squirrel. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say about retreat, everything. Oh, I've had a few people who are concerned because of time zones. If you live out west, for example, and I've got on the agenda that I'm opening the doors at 7:30 in the morning. That doesn't mean you have to be there at 7:30. Okay? That would be way too early for the people on the West Coast because we're 3 hours different. And we're 3 hours ahead of the West Coast. So, yeah. But that spot is yours. You do with it what you want to do with it. Okay? And the reason you're getting the agenda in advance is so you can plan your day, because maybe there's some things you have to do that day for a half an hour or an hour to take you away from the screen, and you don't want to miss some of the guest speakers. So, yeah, you'll know when they're going to be on, so you can plan around all of that. Okay. So, yeah, and if you have any questions, just email me. Okay. I already did a video last week about where you'll find my email address, and I've already had somebody tell me how you'll find it on an iPad, which I didn't realize. I'm going to go over that on Monday. This is really annoying with that stupid thing. Yank the battery.
That won't help, so.
Anyways, it's always something, isn't it, when we do this? Okay, so if you have any questions, email me. Yeah. What else? Last week's videos, Monday Morning Coffee with me, a lot of it was about 3D printing, because that's where I talk a lot about that. I'm going to talk about something very interesting and show you something very interesting with one of my 3D printers this Monday, because I had a little problem. And it wasn't what I expected it was going to be, but I have it all fixed now. We talked on the Idiot Quilter about projects in detail, especially the second star to the right, the Art East quilt, and other projects that we had. And on So Chatty, we're continuing our series on using the Accuquilt, the 8-inch cube. And this week coming, we're going to move to the biggest cube, which is the 12-inch, and how to use that. And then eventually what we're going to do is make a quilt using the cube blocks, as they call them, the cubes. They're just called cubes. And I'll show you some of the more specialized dies as well as time goes by. So, oh, stop it. Stop it. Sounds like a bird got caught. Let's see here. Any comments? No, poor Helen, Barb says. And Gloria says, Stephen, I'm shaking my head at Helen Keller remark. I know, too soon? Jen says, sometimes experts are unable to teach because they've done things too many times. They are unable to articulate what and how they do it. That's very true. Sometimes it's hard to, because you're so used to doing it. Debbie says, just joined head company. We'll have to go back and rewatch the beginning. Okay, Debbie, you can do that when it comes up. Charlotte says, it really helps if you remember to attach the one picture. Oh, yeah, Charlotte. Well, you caught yourself, though, Charlotte. So no problem.
That used to happen all the time when I was working. People would say, see attached, and nothing was attached.
So anyways, yeah. Francis says, tweet, tweet. Yeah, tweet, tweet. I want to kill the bird. All right, let's change our attention, shall we, to meanwhile in Canada. Well, we had an exciting week with our government. We're coming up to a by-election in 3 ridings, 2 actually in Ontario, in the Toronto area, and 1 in Quebec. And the 2 in Ontario will probably go to the Liberals because they're both are Liberal strongholds.
Yeah, what happened is that 2 of the Liberals that were in power there moved on to other jobs. So those became vacancies, and they're doing a by-election now to fill those vacancies.
Yeah, and so the thing that's important about these by-elections, and we're all watching, is if they do go Liberal, that means that Mark Carney, our Prime Minister, his party, the Liberal Party, will have a majority in the government, which means the opposition may not be happy with whatever the Liberals decide to do, but they won't be able to stop them because they won't have enough votes against them. And it also pretty much guarantees, unless something very drastic changes, that Mark Carney will be in power and the Liberals will be in power for the next 4 years. And that's, from our point of view, as being Liberals, we like that because Mark Carney is being a very effective Prime Minister right now. He is dealing with the Trump issues and other things. He comes from an economic background, from a financial background, so he knows the ins and outs of finances, and he's more that than a politician because he didn't really come from the political world. So it's kind of good right now, given all the threats that Trump has against us and other people in the world, that Mark Carney comes from that. And this will also help the government to get some things that will be good for Canada through, not have filibusters and things like that.
Yeah, right now the policies have a hard time coming through because if there aren't enough people in the Liberal Party that can vote for the policy, so if everybody else opposes it, then nothing gets done. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly how the leader of the Conservative Party, the main opposition, is doing things. It doesn't matter if Carney's government says it's black, he'll say it's white and argue that. But he doesn't have, that leader, Poilievre, does not have a strong foundation. All he does is criticize. He does not have any viable alternatives. He likes to have little slogans, like his latest one with the gas crisis we're going through right now is cut the tax, cut the tax. And like it's like he's blaming the price of gas on the tax, the federal tax that's on it, which is not the reason it is so high. And we all know why it's high. But this is what's going on. So plus, on the week, just last week, another one of the Conservative MPs from Poilievre's party crossed the floor and became a Liberal. So, and there are rumors that there are 8 to 10 other possibilities deserting the Conservative Party and coming over to the Liberals, which basically is a direct reflection on the ineffective way that Poilievre is leading his party. And it's looking good on him. So, yeah, because he's an idiot. So, yeah, so it's exciting.
I mean, this wouldn't be happening if there was a strong leadership in the Conservative Party. So,
yeah.
But because Poilievre is not, because the MPs themselves have been unhappy with Poilievre, that's why they're moving to another party.
Yeah. And Lori Lee says, he's always impressed me as a smart man. I'm assuming she means Carney. And yes, he is. And Andy says, Mark Carney is, as we say, the bomb. He is. Right now, in this time, he is the best leader that we could possibly have in the position as Prime Minister. So, you know, but we'll see what happens. But I'm pretty sure he's going to get a majority. But, you know, the more idiots that cross the floor from the Conservatives and become Liberals, you know, more warm bodies in the Liberal seats, the better it would be. And he says, by the way, did Canada decide to go with the Griffin?
We don't know yet.
No, that still hasn't been clearly defined.
I think there is a few F-35s that they have on order, which isn't the Griffin, obviously. but I don't know. I haven't heard anything more whether they were going to go with the Griffin or not.
No, that's been kind of put on the back burner,
Yeah.
at least in the newsroom.
Now, maybe that's part of the fact that liberal parties don't have a majority, so they can't make that decision.
Oh, that's true. So maybe that decision will come once they have the majority government. Of course, Polyev is saying that these MPs from his side of the House crossing over, well, it's just Carney doing dirty politics. That it's not right. These people were elected by their constituents in the position as a conservative, and so he's making it sound like they have abandoned their constituents. Well, I don't think they have. I think that they have spoken to groups of their constituents, and I've got the feel of how this will reflect on them. Because let's face it, politicians, the number one concern for a politician is keeping their position. It's not the people. That's number two. Okay? And I don't care who the politician is. They're in politics for a reason, and they're in it because they like the power, they like the money, they like the lack of work. So yeah. But where was I going with? But Polyev is trying to say that this is illegal. It isn't illegal. It's perfectly legitimate.
And in fact, it's been in the history books that this has occurred.
Oh yeah, it's happened
in the past. And usually it's the party that's losing the MPs that obviously is griping about it.
Yeah.
It's if the party that's receiving them is not doing the griping.
And it's also a case of the pot calling the kettle black, because if the roles were reversed, like Walter just said, Polyev would think it was the best thing if liberals went over to his side. So yeah, it's hypocrisy, but it's politics. It's all politics.
And a lot of these MPs that are going over have what they call slim majority wins too. So
yeah,
they're in ridings that are can either go liberal or conservative, and the votes are close anyway. So
yeah. Well, I mentioned that there are 3 by-elections, 3 different ridings. 2 of them are already liberal strongholds, so that's why people are not too worried about them. But the third one is in Quebec. And the last election, it was very close between the liberal...
the liberal MP won by 1 vote.
Yeah, not against the conservatives, though, against something called the Bloc. The Bloc is a party that it only exists in Quebec because Quebec's very special in Canada.
It's a French party.
It's the French party. And also a party that in many ways sometimes raises this little ugly head when it comes to separatism. You know, you hear about that every 10 years or something with it. So, and it was so close that they had to do a recount, and it was by 1 vote. So
of course the Bloc took it to court and said that that 1 vote isn't enough to wasn't
to make it a clear
winner.
Win. Yeah. So that's why there is a by-election there at the same time. So that one will be interesting to see whether it will be the Bloc or it'll be the Liberals, because when it was that close last time, it's going to depend. But the Bloc is different.
They have a strong hold on votes in Quebec.
So, but actually it really won't matter if the Liberals don't get in on that riding, because they'll get in on these other 2, and because of that one that just walked over, this gives them the majority.
That's if they get these 2. But these 2 are supposedly stronghold liberal things. And right now, the liberal government's pretty strong, and they also have good popularity with the voters right now.
Yeah. So, and all the journalists and the political analysis and that are all saying it's pretty much a shoe-in. So hopefully it will be. But we won't know for sure until we know. And that's not until after tomorrow night, because the elections all happen tomorrow. So, there was good news, though, this week. Artemis splashed down and no one died, which is a good thing. So everybody's really happy about that. We talked last week or whatever about, the cost to go to the moon. Is this really worth it? I mean, I'm still not convinced that space travel, if you want to call it space, is really at a feasible thing right now, but they're trying. But I was really happy that it didn't blow up, because that would have been terrible on so many levels. Just those 4 astronauts, they're risking their life to start with. I mean, they're basically sitting on a bomb when they go up there and then coming back down. And if they could have burned up in the atmosphere, but everything was fine. They said it was a picture perfect splashdown and the whole bit, and that was great. But one bone of contention: we watched it on YouTube as it was happening, and we watched it from ABC, their feed, and they were always like listing off the astronauts,
By their name.
By their name, except for ours, the Canadian.
They kept calling him the Canadian
The Canadian guy, the Canadian astronaut. He has a name. Use it. Like, I couldn't believe that. It's the same as when you go down into the States and you see them talking about the weather across North America. Well, no, they're talking about the weather for the US, and you don't even see Canada. And if you do, it's just a blob north. Like, give me a break. No wonder Americans don't know anything about our country. We know who all the astronauts were in that capsule, and 3 were Americans. We were more concerned about the Canadian, how he was putting up with the Americans. But they all did a good job, and it is, good. Nobody fried. So, happy about that.
It was a good distraction from other news.
Yeah, it was a good distraction from other news. Of course, Melania was creating a distraction too. I want you to know, and it's in my book, that I did not have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. He's a criminal. And I met my husband long before then. Of course, why you got pictures hugging him? But, that all of that was a distraction from, what's going on in the Middle East. So let's talk a little bit about it. The question is today, is Trump bankrupting the world? And the short answer is yes, he is. And first of all, the most obvious thing right now is the gas prices. He is why the gas prices are high. We know this. It is nobody else's fault for that except his alone. Because what did he think the Iranians were going to do? That is their one ace in the hole that they have. Oh, bomb us, no gas for you. Like no soup for you, no gas for you. But, the spin-off from that, too, is how it's going to affect everything else. I mean, let's face it, we're still a world that depends on fossil fuels to get around.
A lot of it comes from the Middle East.
Yeah. And so our food has to be transported. Like right now in Canada, we're not in our growing season, so we're not growing stuff. We depend from it coming up from California, from Mexico, across the United States and stuff like that. Well, it has to be transported here. Everything that transports, it doesn't matter whether you're going by train, by plane, by car, by truck, it's all fossil fuels. And that, if those transport companies have to raise their prices because to afford the fuel, then it's going to trickle down to all of us. So that's why a green pepper is going to cost you $10.99 these days. So it affects all of us. And, the lower income people who have families or whatever, they can't afford to feed their kids.
They couldn't afford to feed their kids before all of this, let alone
everything else. It's going to affect our heating oil. Okay, maybe not so much for those of you living in the southern United States. We're in warmer climates, but here in Canada, it's still frosty. We need, and
it also affects natural gas. Because
yes,
there's a lot of natural gas that gets shipped through the Strait of Hormuz as well.
Yeah, but here's something that in my research I found that I hadn't considered, and that is helium. Helium is a product from fossil fuels. And you're going to think, well, so your balloons won't float. Is that a disaster? No, no. They use helium to manufacture silicone chips. Where are silicone chips placed? In everything. All of our appliances, our computers, our sound systems, our televisions, our phones, everything is dependent on silicone chips. So guess what's going to happen with all our electronic devices, which are already high priced? Or they're going to become a little more scarce, you know? So hang on to that iPhone, because you might not be getting the next newest one out of that. But also it affects the health sciences, because apparently MRI machines technology uses helium. And so that's going to affect the quality of a person's health. If you need to have an MRI done, or even in cancer research, they use it quite a bit as well. So you see, it isn't just the price of gas at the pumps. It's all these other things that are affected as well. All because of one idiot. So what about the tariffs? Okay. The average American is now paying a lot more for necessities than they were before, because tariffs, as we have said time and time again, is a tax. And it's a tax that is paid by the American people. It is not paid by the companies that are supplying the stuff that comes into the United States. Yes, it does affect them in the sense that maybe, and what Trump's hoping, is that maybe American companies will cut back on what they are buying from foreign interests. But he thinks that's going to inspire them to make it in the States. Well, you just can't make it tomorrow in the States. And some things can't be made in the States. They have to come from other countries. And these tariffs are on every country practically that the United States has any trade with. So that's making the quality of life bad for the people south of our border, but it's not helping our economy either. And that's why our Prime Minister is having the sense to look for foreign markets and to make trade deals, which he has been doing with China, with Australia, with Indonesia, with India. He's going out there and he's making these deals left and right. So we are no longer dependent on the Americans. And that's because of the tariffs. So it doesn't look like that's going to make things any easier for the average American anymore either. So, of course, who he is supporting are his rich buddies. I mean, all this money that supposedly he has coming in and all this kind of stuff, have the average American citizen benefit from that? No. Where is that money? Well, ballrooms at the White House. I mean, of course, the White House has to have a fancy ballroom. So you take down a piece of heritage, you wreck it with a wrecking ball, and right now it's still a pile of garbage that's sitting there now, you know, a landmark, a national landmark, a national monument, really. And he just blows it up. Real good. So the only people that are benefiting from any of his policies are his rich buddies. So here you go, the old adage. The poor get poorer, the rich get richer. And, you know, right now, the existence of a middle class in society in both our countries has been diminished over the years for one reason or another. But he is absolutely wiping out the middle class. And if you wipe out the middle class, the poor can't do anything, but the rich just get richer from all of that, kind of cutting out the middleman, as in the middle class, with it. I'll slow down here.
Well, you need the middle class to be able to buy stuff. So.
Well, yeah. Darcy says, maybe it was just the channel you were watching. Everything I watched gave the names of all the astronauts. I was proud there was Americans, Canadians, friends. We were watching ABC. And it happened on more than one occasion. So, yeah, but maybe on the other channels they did. But I don't know, maybe it was just that at that point when the reporting. I'm not sure. I don't necessarily think that was done on purpose. But It was done on purpose. Oh, Denise is here. Hi, Denise. Jeremy Hansen has been an astronaut for years. Yeah, he has been. You just don't suddenly become an astronaut. Let's see. Just backing up here. Okay. Debbie says, I had all 9 grandchildren over when we watched Artemis 2 come back. It was so cool to see. And yes, I was doing my Hail Marys that it landed safely. Such a neat thing to witness. Yeah, when you think about the technology behind it and the ability to do that. But you know, I thought the landing on the moon in 1969 was more exciting. What you could see of it. You could tell how the technology has changed, because I remember, you know, it was all lines and black and white.
We all had like black and white.
Well,
TV sets.
yeah, kind of a thing. Yeah. Barb says, I met the Donald, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Andy says, weather announcers mention Canada when there's a polar vortex. Yeah, that's true, because it's our fault you're freezing. That's a plan. We do that on purpose. We do. And Susan says, or a fire. True. And Denise says, I only remember Victor Glover name and Reed. I don't remember the ladies or the Canadian astronaut, but I know they were there. The lady fixed the toilet.
Last name was, they called her Cook, but it was Koch was her last name. So yeah, if you can figure out how to pronounce
it. Well, they were calling her Cook. They said that. Oh, don't forget to add Israel to the blame game. They are just as guilty too. So disappointed in Trump right now. I hate all the politicians. Actually, if the truth be known, and no one is saying this, the reason Trump is over there in the first place has to do with the Israelis. You know,
Netanyahu.
Yeah, that's the one. He's a war criminal. He's creating, he's doing genocide. And what he does, though, is he's doing it behind Trump. He's letting Trump
take the blame.
I mean, yes, Trump is to blame as well. But nobody ever says this. Everybody's so afraid they might offend the Israelis. Give me a break, you know, because he is as much of a war criminal as Trump is. He's as much of a dictator, too. In fact, he's just a dictator that has a little bit more smarts about him, but he's still a dictator. But everybody seems to bypass, pussyfoot around him. Denise says, I don't recall anything the Canadian did. Not sure I believe it's actually happened. Oh, conspiracy theory.
I believe he did have tasks.
He had tasks too, but they all had tasks, but they didn't really say.
Well, they didn't really say. I think they were looking out the window and taking pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why was there floating Nutella? They never explained that one. There's a bottle of Nutella floating by.
They seem to be looking out the window a lot and taking pictures.
Yeah. And it says, I just had my oil tank filled, $636, 1 month, not counting electricity. Oh, God, Inez. I wish you could explain that to all his supporters who still think he's perfect. Well, you know, those supporters are stupid idiots. I see a judge put a stop to the ballroom demo. Yeah, so now it's just sitting there as a pile of rubbish. And of course, you know, Trump's gone on to other things. Like, I'm surprised that the side of the spacecraft didn't have his name on it.
He couldn't get it done fast enough.
I guess, yeah. And it says, think I'll move to the cabin, wood stove, and solar. Yeah, get off the grid, right? Debbie says, Miss Karen, they are all evil anymore. I'm tired of feeling like nothing but a pawn. I tell all my kids, take care of your own, because no one else will. Make your happiness. Well, that's another thing that this is brought about too, okay? We've talked about the economics of what he's doing. And, you know, right now, people can't afford the necessities of life, like meat. And so some elements of our society are turning to crime. There was a report that here in the grocery stores in Canada, some of the smaller stores are actually locking up where they store their meat for sale because they've had armed robbers come in and steal the meat and take off with it. Because, you know, well, if you've looked at the price of steak or even hamburgers, like that's basically tongues and assholes ground up, and they want like what was it last time? What, a pound? Like over,
A pound is over $8 now. So
yeah, Canadian.
yeah.
So when we used to be able to buy it for what, $2.99 or something,
Yeah,
or
it was
$2.69,
it was on
or
sale a lot for $2.99 and stuff like that. And
yeah.
now if you get a good sale, it's under $6.
So what Trump is doing is increasing crime. Is a spin-off from this. And what happens when thieves start to turn to violence to get the things they want? And it may not be meat they're stealing. They're going in and breaking open in broad daylight here in Canada. They're brazen. They're going into jewelry stores right there, smashing during the day in a shopping mall when there's all kinds of shoppers around, smashing the cases, grabbing all of the stuff they can get out of that. They're not going to be wearing it. That's not why they're getting it, because they're going to a fancy dress ball and they need a new necklace. They're out there fencing it. They're selling it to wherever. And why?
Or melting it down.
And if you are trying to feed your family and you don't have enough money to do that, it might be easy with some people to talk them into doing some crime to get paid for it in order so they can put food on the table. And of course, the more crime, the more violence, the more guns. It's all a spin-off, and it's all because of him. What about our mental state, which is what basically Debbie is referring to there, about what she tells her kids. I don't know about you, but I don't sleep well at night. We're bombarded by the media about everything that's going on. And yes, there are people who say, I'm not going to watch this. I can't do that. I don't want to be not in the know. I'm selective about what I watch because there's a lot of fake news, to use one of his terms, out there. And there is. Or spins that, they're just doing it to get, especially on YouTube, to get the viewership to increase, what they can get from their monetization of their challenge or a channel. But this leads to affecting people's health, both physical and mental. Less sleep, more anxiety, more depression. And when you get into a state where you can't sleep, where you're feeling depressed, anxious, having anxiety attacks, what do you turn to? Drugs. May start out as prescription. Drug companies will love it. They'll be making money on it. But, some of these drugs might lead to other kinds of drugs that aren't so legal. So it's a vicious circle. And then we have the unrest in countries around the world. Right now, I don't know what DEFCON we're at, as they say, but who's going to blow up who first? There's still a war going on between the Ukraine and Russia, but we don't hear a lot about that lately. But it's still going on. People are suffering. Pakistan is raising its ugly head again. North Korea is raising its ugly head again. All of it. And all of these places are ruled by dictators. They're all in Trump's camp. So that is a big worry. You want to bring children into this world? Into this kind of situation? And Trump is truly mentally unstable. If not right out crazy. Saying he's mentally unstable kind of dumbs it down. It's not. He's a crazy. He's a lunatic. So he needs to be removed. That's the American's job to do it. And I know it is so easy for the average American to throw their hands up in the air and go, what can we do? Where it should be our politicians. Yes, it should be. So many Americans have hit the streets protesting the No Kings thing, doing all of that. That's a start. More than that. Does Trump pay attention to that? No. He ignores it as well because that's part of his craziness. But it's a start. And, there's power in numbers. So the more people doing that, the ones who are sitting on the sidelines may get more involved in it. So I say, Americans, bully for you for having those kinds of rallies. Keep it up. you got to put more pressure on your politicians. You've got to make the politicians think they're going to lose their job, that you are not going to vote for them. The midterms are coming up. Trump is going to try to do something to jeopardize those. You cannot be intimidated by him or his ice goons, because he's going to have the ice goons out there. You've got to go. I mean, Americans are always talking about what their democratic rights are. And one of those is the ability to have free elections and to vote and to protest. So maybe it's time not just to say you have those rights, it's time to use those rights. Maybe because of health reasons or whatever, you can't get out to a rally or a protest or something like that, but you can always donate, because these organizations need money as well. So, it doesn't hurt to show your support or put a sign on your lawn or something like that. And, screw your neighbors. If they're Trumpers, they're not neighbors. They're aliens next door. They're a threat. Yeah, sure, everybody wants to get along with their neighbors, but there's a limit. There really is. In your family, you need to educate your people in your family who might not realize what's going on. And yes, that's a difficult thing to do. And it's going to lead to some breakdowns in certain family relations. It is. But that might be a small price to pay for your freedom and for a better life. Remember what that was like? You had that at one time, apparently, in the States. Now, other countries need to do their part, though, too. We as Canadians need to do our part. And we are. We are doing it at a political level. What I already said about Mark Carney, looking for new markets and closing the American market out of our life. Unfortunately, that will harm American citizens, but that's what we've come to. We have to protect our people as well, and I'm sure most Americans would agree with that, because you do the same, or would do the same. We're slowly fighting back against whatever Trump is trying to throw out at us. Not easy. We're looking to make new markets. We're looking to, keep him off our border, out of our land. And we're also doing things, if you watch YouTube, watch some Canadian media, because you will see our side of the story and what we're doing about it. And our journalists on the legitimate channels are keeping us well informed about what the situation is, because I think education is a good thing. It's one of the things you can use in your little arsenal against a tyrant. But I guess what's going to be, all the Americans are talking about, and the things that I listen to, the importance of the midterms. I hope Americans don't become complacent about it and don't go, well, I can't go out and vote. It's not going to make any difference. It will make a difference. It will make a difference. You've got to do it. Because I'm sorry, we can't vote for you in the midterms. We would love to, yeah. But we can't, obviously, okay? Or any other country in the world. So if you're looking for help to change the situation from outside the borders of your own country, that's not going to happen. Although Trump doesn't really believe in borders, he goes in and does stuff to other countries that really he should keep his nose out of. Iran is one of them, because we know how things are happening there, right? But you've really got to, as citizens, you have power. You have power as citizens. Don't fall into despair and not do it, because he's affecting the world like it has never been affected before. I mean, he is probably worse than Hitler, because Hitler didn't have modern technology behind him like we have today. And things have changed a lot since Hitler's day. So, yeah, you got to do something. Do it. Let's see. There's been a bunch of comments here. Sue says it was a secret mission to take photos of the ancient alien base on the dark side of the moon. Yeah. What happens to all the meat that people aren't buying? That's a good question,
Well,
Bob.
actually, the stores have been putting less out.
Yeah.
I have noticed even Costco
Mm-hmm.
does not have loads and loads of meat out there. So I think the stores have cut it back on what they're buying and stuff like that too.
Andy says, what's the point of stealing jewelry? No one can afford to buy it. Very true, but they're not necessarily selling the jewelry. They're melting it down. If the gold, that kind
What
of
gold
stuff.
is worth.
Yeah.
And people are buying gold still.
Yeah, and precious gems and stuff like that.
For
There is a black market for that.
yeah.
There are people who can afford to buy it. It isn't you and me.
Yeah.
Like, they're not putting it out on retail
Yeah.
shelves. They're taking it to the flea market. But
No.
there's other interests there. Carol says, a well-known YouTube news presenter always says you might not like the news, but you need to know it. And I agree with that. You can't keep your head in a hole. You know, you've got to know what's going around. Debbie Dawson says, amen, Miss Carol. Inez says, wait till McDonald's burgers go up.
When's the last time you bought a McDonald's hamburger? They are already up.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, they're very expensive. In fact, they're more expensive than if you go to a regular
Yeah.
restaurant.
And besides, it's McDonald's, lips and assholes.
Yeah.
You know, like, really, we don't eat at McDonald's. No.
I haven't had a McDonald's burger in ages.
Oh, no. And the last time
I had
did,
it, I just
think
about threw up.
Yep. Adam says, oh poop, I got carried away loading the long arm and missed you guys. Sorry, I'll watch back after. I'm disappointed in you, Adam. That's all I can say. So sad. Let's see. Karen said, or Inez says, my great grand is a wreck. He loves history and watches the news on his iPad, and he's only 9. Well, he's a remarkable man at any age. I guess 90 something. And as that is so sad. Same age I was during Cuban Missile Crisis, lifelong effects.
Unless it's her great grandson.
Maybe. Great grand. Oh, okay. All right. I just immediately thought great grandfather. No, that wouldn't be. Yeah. Okay. I get it. Yep. Yeah, it's just tweeting in the background. It's wrecking my brain. Teresa says, it's always been when watching the Olympics. If you're watching an American channel, you never know any other country was there. They only broadcast American athletes, only if it's the medal. Yep, that's true. Ness says, I worry about his, Karen. Okay, there's something missing in there, but it's okay. Melania doth protest too much. Yeah, that's right. Oh, let's face it, he married a hooker, saw her on a pole, and simply had to have her. I mean, she comes from nothing. She has very little education, if any. She begged herself a rich man. Of course, she didn't realize that she bit off more than she can chew, I'm sure. But I don't feel sorry for her. So, you know, no. What a disgusting waste of first ladiness. You know, really there. I wouldn't even call her a first lady. I'd call her the first whore. That would be better. Well, she is. There's no two ways about it. So, anyways, yep. Just thought we needed to talk about that because it's affecting all of us. It's just not an American thing. It's a world thing. It affects us right down to us as individuals. And when I say us, I mean all of us. Walter, me, you guys, everybody.
Yeah, like, I mean, apparently for our trip to Japan,
that we may
I'm
not.
finding out that there may be a shortage of aviation fuel in Japan. So we may end up not going.
We may not end up going. So, yeah. Shit on you, Trump. Bury him up to his neck. He needs to be tortured. I want to see that man tortured. I really do. You know what's going to happen? We're going to wake up one morning and he's dead. And I don't want to see him die. I want to see him, or killed. I want to see him put in prison and made to suffer. That would be.
One of the problems with the ranchers is that with the climate change, there isn't enough grass for the cows to eat, so they have to buy feed, and that's driving the prices up. And there's a whole bunch of other factors as well. So there are a lot of ranchers that are out of business already, and that's
everything is affected by this. Because if one thing is affected here, like I said, with the gas and transportation for food and all that kind of stuff, and travel and everything else. It's all interconnected. That's the thing. We depend too much upon fossil fuels. And maybe, but the world isn't that smart. But I was going to think maybe it's now they should seriously start looking into, other alternative forms of energy. Get us off the fossil fuels. If we weren't dependent upon the fossil fuels, there would have been no need for this whole thing with Iran, because they would just be a bunch of crazies in long gowns doing what they do. So, yeah.
Adam says, not driving anywhere at the moment. Can't afford to put fuel in my car. I'm having to condense all my outings and clients into different days.
And he says their shipping rates internally have gone up as well. Yes, the same here. So any orders that go out, I'm losing more on too. Yeah, it's affecting everybody. Teresa says there will be cheering in the streets when his obituary is published. Yep, that's for sure. But anyways, let's say, can we end off on a cheery note? Cheery note. Retreat this weekend. Still spots available. Sign up. Be there. Have fun. We will not be talking politics at the retreat. So don't worry about that. There will be no drama allowed. Okay? It'll all be just a good time.
Fun and games.
Fun and games. Fun and games. It will be. We'll all be doing something that we enjoy doing with a bunch of other people that enjoy doing the same. So it will be a good time for everybody. So, yeah, I think on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Thanks for joining us today. Tune in next week for everything that's happening. And, yeah, have a good week. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.